Mangwana Nibalelepo Vukenjari Kleklasvanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Berry on Monday, the 28th of October. And these are some of the top stories we are looking at. Calls for investigation into Gauteng's 9.7 million rand gun tender. At least 124 killed after Sudan's RSF attacks village, activists say. And Tanzania-Uganda oil project faces financing hurdles. Follow all our programs on oneup2.com or DSTV 285 and GoTV 25 in Namibia. Talent Gore will bring us news from Zimbabwe as Ari Hogad delivers the latest in sport. This is Africa Good Morning. Top stories shortly.
Welcome to Namibia, where adventure meets tranquility. With Enjoy, you have access to a wide range of accommodations to suit every traveler's taste and budget. Experience the finest dining and hospitality Namibia has to offer. Booking your dream accommodation is just a few clicks away with Enjoy. Join thousands of happy travelers who have trusted Enjoy for their Namibian getaway. Your gateway to unforgettable Namibian adventures. Visit us today at enjoy.my.na.
Getting into our top stories, the DA, which is the Democratic Alliance in Gauteng, South Africa, says it wants an investigation into the procurement of 124 pistols by the Gauteng government for 78,000 rand each. The price of the guns was revealed in the Department of Communities Financial 2023-24 financial year. The guns came to a total of 9.7 million rand when combined. DA Shadow MEC Krizan Bosch on Friday said she wanted the tender for the guns investigated by the Special Investigations Unit. This contract seems irregular since the pistol price is higher than the market price and there has been at least 58,000 rand overspent on every pistol if the government went for the highest end of these pistols. Bosch said normally the pistols would cost between 15 and 20,000 rand. The DA questions the department's decision to award this tender, which was meant to help someone make money. Furthermore, there appears to have been a collusion in the awarding of this tender, which should be urgently investigated. She said the money could have been better spent to enable police to get more resources such as bulletproof vests. Many of these stations lack adequate resources such as police vehicles and bulletproof vests and are poorly maintained, understaffed and underfunded. Bosch said many departments in Gauteng have become feeding troughs for corrupt politicians and senior government officials. The Department of Community Safety and the Gauteng Department of Social Development has become a platform through which money is being funneled for other purposes other than service delivery. The DA has also accused Premier Panyaza Lesufi of covering up rot within the various departments in the province. They accuse him of concealing 100 forensic reports that had been completed but not released to the public. Sudan's paramilitary rapid support forces killed at least 124 people in a village in Al Gezira state on Friday, activists said, in one of the deadliest incidents of an 18-month war and the largest in a spate of attacks in the state. Following the surrender of high-ranking RSF officer Abuala Ekekau to the army last Sunday, pro-democracy activists said the RSF has carried out revenge attacks in the farming state where he comes from, killing and detaining civilians and displacing thousands. Because Syria has already faced a months-long rampage in which residents told Reuters the RSF looted homes, killed scores of civilians, and displaced hundreds of thousands. Isireha village in the north of the state experienced the worst of the recent violence when at least 124 were killed and 100 injured in the RSF raid. And the One Madani Resistance Committee, a pro-democracy group, said on Saturday in a statement the RSF accused the army of arming civilians in Gezira and of using forces under Kekau's command. Prompting its attacks, the army and the RSF did not respond to requests for comment. The Liberian diplomatic sector faces numerous challenges, including an unauthorized sale of diplomatic passports and irregular diplomatic appointments. The Boakai administration, through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, says it has focused on addressing these issues, and without delay, President Joseph Nyuma Boakai has instructed the cancellation of several diplomatic appointments. The president decided to revoke all appointments of ambassadors at large, special envoys, and trade and investment representatives with immediate effect to address the challenges within the Liberian diplomatic sector. The announcement was made by Information Minister Gerolin Pia at a press briefing held at the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism. Minister Pia highlighted the president's commitment to aligning these roles with Liberia's current governance needs and foreign policy direction. Reappointments will be made based on the country's governance need for the roles in the current dispensation, Minister Pia stated. Now, moving on, Egypt's Foreign Minister Badr Abdulati said on Saturday that without a ceasefire in Gaza, there will be no peace or security in the region. Speaking during a conference with his Ukrainian counterpart, Abdulati condemned Israel's actions in Gaza. In the 21st century, we cannot accept a policy of starving more than 2.2 million Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, he said. Meanwhile, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha hit out at Russia's invasion of Ukraine, blaming it for several global crises. That's why this war in Ukraine is not the war about Ukraine, only about Ukraine. It's about the restoration of world order based on international law, he said. Sybiha also confirmed that Ukraine was working on holding another global peace summit to which Russian representatives would be invited. And finally, Botswana's governing party, in power for almost 6 decades, is using a phrase normally associated with long-suffering opposition groups. In its manifesto, the Botswana Democratic Party is calling for change. Let's change together and build prosperity for all, President Mokgweetsi Masisi, in charge of the country since 2018, writes in the introduction. It is an acknowledgement that things need to be done differently. The opposition argues the president's party is not in a position to do that. Though analysts say the outcome of the election is hard to predict this time, the BDP has won a handsome parliamentary majority at the 11 elections since independence in 1966. It subsequently secured the presidency every time as MPs elect the head of state. The BDP has been credited with overseeing a peaceful and dramatic transformation of a poor country with only a few kilometers of tarred roads and independence into a place where average living standards are among the highest on the continent. Underpinning this transformation has been Botswana's huge diamond reserves. Measured by their value, the country is the world's largest producer of gemstone. Botswana is facing big economic challenges, hence Masisi's talk of change. More than 1 in 4 of the working population is unemployed, with an even higher proportion among younger people, and this is according to the World Bank. Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. After the break, we'll be talking to Talent Gore about the latest news stories stemming from Zimbabwe.
Irongo Med is a leading distributor, working in partnership with NewMed and WestMed to meet the comprehensive needs of the Namibian healthcare sector. As a partner pursuing sustainable global healthcare, we offer industry-leading medical solutions through our key focus areas, which include pharmaceuticals, orthopedics, ophthalmology, surgical devices and capital equipment, as well as a well-established scientific laboratory division. In healthcare, Irongo Med is committed to making a difference. What about you?
It's time to talk to our correspondent in Zimbabwe, Talent Gore. Talent Wamkase. Tamukaedu. Now, the Zimbabwean government is engaging South Africa over deportations. Tell us more about the story.
Yes, the Zimbabwean government has said that it is in talks with the South African government about its citizens who may be deported after their ZEP permits expire, which are the Zimbabwe exemption permits after they expire. Well, apparently last week, the South African Home Affairs Minister announced that 19,750 undocumented immigrants were deported, costing the South African government about 62 million rand. So, and he said that Zimbabwe has the highest number of illegal immigrants in South Africa, with over 7,000 Zimbabweans being deported between 2022 and 2023. So the Legal Justice and Parliamentary Affairs Minister Ziyambi said that the government was in talks with South African officials over the planned deportation of undocumented citizens. He said that South Africa has its own laws that govern their own immigration, and that what Zimbabwe can do as a government is to ensure that the needs of our people, wherever possible, are governed by the bilateral relations that Zimbabwe has with South Africa. He also said that the issue of Zimbabweans in South Africa is that the South African government has decided that they no longer want to renew the permits that they were given after 2008. So right now they are just waiting to see whether the South African government will be able to amend the ZEP permits, or they are just waiting to hear if they're going to deport the undocumented Zimbabweans who are in South Africa. So right now the government has just told the citizens, or rather they've just announced that they are in talks with South Africa. So right now they are waiting to hear from what South Africa thinks, and if they're going to renew the ZEP permits for Zimbabweans who are in South Africa.
All right, we'll certainly be keeping an eye on that one. Now, Zimparks is dangling 2,000 US dollars as a reward for the arrest of poachers.
Yes, the Zimbabwe Parks and Wildlife Management Authority has announced a 2,000 United States dollar reward for information leading to the arrest of suspected poachers who killed 3 lions in Hwange National Park. Officials from the Department of Parks and Wildlife believe that the killings were for ritual purposes. The spokesperson for the parks, Tinashe Farao, said that the rangers discovered the carcasses of 3 lions last week, 2 females and one sub-adult male. On Sunday, these lions were seen. Last week Sunday, these lions were seen hunting a zebra. They spent the Sunday and Monday feeding, and they believe that they were killed sometime on Monday night by poachers who also chopped off and removed their head and paws. So right now we are offering 2,000 United States dollars for anyone who has information in regards to the poachers who killed these 3 lions. Well, this was said by the park's spokesperson, who said that they are offering 2,000 United States dollars to anyone who has information on the poachers, or to anyone who has information in regards to the 3 lions that were killed just early last week.
Yeah, truly horrific there, and we really do hope all poachers are caught. It's quite the scourge on wildlife and nature in southern Africa. Now, President Emmerson Mnangagwa of Zimbabwe has said he will not extend his term of office between 2028, calling himself a constitutionalist. Of course, that's ignoring how he came into power. And ZANU-PF members had proposed he extend his term, but he's refusing to do that.
Yes, for quite some time now, the ZANU-PF party has been calling for President Emmerson Mnangagwa to extend his term beyond 2028. They're saying that he has done a lot in terms of development in the country, so they want him to be their candidate for the 2028 general elections. But President Emmerson Mnangagwa has said that he will not extend his term of office beyond 2028, as he is a constitutionalist, even though ZANU-PF members had proposed he extend his term to 2030. Presenting resolutions at the ZANU-PF National Annual People's Conference on Saturday, the Secretary for Legal Affairs, Comrade Patrick Shinamasa, said that President Mnangagwa had confided in him on numerous occasions that he has no wish to extend his mandate beyond the constitutional provisions. He said that, and I quote, His Excellency said he had a hand in crafting the current constitution. I met him 3 times and he said he has no wish to extend his mandate beyond 2028. But despite what the president has said, you find out that some organs, or rather some hand in the ZANU-PF party, they are calling for him to extend his term. And you also find out that we are still in 2024 and a lot can happen in the next few years up until 2028. So right now people are just saying that we don't know the ZANU-PF party that much. Anything can happen. The president might wake up tomorrow having changed his mind, and he might want to compete in 2028 for the general elections. But as of now, he has assured the nation that he does not want to go beyond 2028. As president, just wants his 2 terms, and after that another candidate within the ZANU-PF will emerge, who's going to be their presidential candidate for the 2028 elections.
All right. I mean, it is easy to be a constitutionalist when you constantly change the constitution. Thank you very much, Talent, for bringing us the news stories from Zimbabwe.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
It's always good having you on Africa. Good morning. Let's have a look at the weather predictions before our economic news. All right. It was recently revealed that the EACOP project is currently facing debt financing issues, prompting its stakeholders, including Total Energies and CNOOC, to infuse more cash into the oil venture. The East African Crude Oil Pipeline project, which is intended to deliver oil from Uganda's Lake Albert reserves to the port of Tanga in Tanzania, is valued at $5 billion. However, this controversial project has been faced with pushback from environmentalists and some concerned members of the international community who claim that the project will damage the environment around it and cause the displacement of communities within its radius. Let's have a look at the economic indicators just before Ari Hochad brings us the sport. So I support Arsenal and my wife supports Liverpool, and yesterday was what we call a win-win. I'm not sure that's how it looks when it comes out of Ari's mouth, but how are you doing, Ari? How are you? It's good to see you, good to have you back. to give us the sport news.
Yes, good morning, Ashwin. I think in our friendship as well, it's a win-win. So that is similar. Yes, the soccer news on the Monday morning is that Manchester City is back on top again. 23 points after 9 games. Everybody's played nine games. And they're back on top because it was 2-2 in the end. That is, firstly, Manchester City. They beat Southampton by 1-0 at home. Important 3 points for them. And then the game that you talked about, Ashwin, it was Liverpool that dropped points at the Emirates. They were on top before the weekend, but they're now down to 22 points, 1 point behind Manchester City. It was Liverpool and Arsenal that played at the Emirates Stadium, Arsenal home ground. It was a very exciting game. It ended up 2-2, draw in the end, Arsenal and Liverpool in that game. But they're still close enough to Manchester City to challenge them for the league. Lots of games still to be played. Arsenal at the moment, 18 points after 9 games. Aston Villa also 18 points after 9 games. Aston Villa beat 1-1 draw against Bournemouth, for them also dropping some points. And then further down on the points, 14th position, all of a sudden, Manchester United, not a good season for them still. It is Erik ten Hag under renewed pressure. Manchester United losing to West Ham 2-1. And then 2 other results. Chelsea beat Newcastle by 2-1. And then it's Crystal Palace beat Tottenham Hotspur by 1-0. On to Formula One racing. It was the Mexico City Grand Prix, very exciting Grand Prix and exciting season. It's not like last season, it was just Red Bull dominating. This year it is McLaren and Ferrari very strong as well. And it was the race won in the end by Ferrari's Carlos Sainz, a dominant win for him. In second position, Lando Norris in his McLaren, and third, Charles Leclerc of Ferrari. So good performance by Ferrari, all 3 in the top 3, and all 2 races rather in the top 3. And it is fourth position, Lewis Hamilton and George Russell, the 2 Mercedes-Benz 4 and 5. Max Verstappen in 6th position, and that was mainly because of 2 different 10-second penalties he got through the race. It's now still Max Verstappen leading on the points table, but Lando Norris just 47 points behind him. So exciting few races still to come. On to rugby news, quite a few rugby games being played in the United Rugby Championship over the weekend. For South African teams, it was some success and some not so good. In the end, Leinster is still on top, 29 points after 6 games. So they played against the Lions of Johannesburg. They beat them 24-6. That was at home for Leinster. They're on top. Glasgow Warriors, important win for them in Stellenbosch, beating the Stormers there by 28 points to 17. Great away win for the defending champions. And then the Bulls, they had a close win on Friday evening, beating Benetton by 17-15. They stay in 3rd position on the log. And then the Sharks, they're showing good form as well, beating Munster 41-24. And they also getting closer to the top of the half of the table. Then to close off today's international sports news, it is golf news. It was a PGA Tour co-sanctioned in Japan that they played, the Zozo Championship. And that is some of the players there in action. And it was in the end, Nicolas Echevarria, he's from Colombia. He won -20 was his score. And just 1 shot behind him was a few Americans. And that was Max Gravesman, and then Justin Thomas, also 19 under par, and Ricky Fowler, 17 under par. So that was co-sanctioned the Zozo Championship in Japan. That was played over the weekend. So that's international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day and sport week. And we talk international sport throughout the week. Good day, everyone. Bye-bye.
All right, cheers and thank you, Ari, for bringing us the latest sport news. Let's swing over into the highlights from the show. Africa, good morning on Monday, the 28th of October. These are some of the top stories that we are looking at, actually. It seems like we're a bit out of time, but DSTV2 at 5, GoTV 25, 1up2.com, and Network Media Hub is precisely where you can find us. And of course, repeat the show. From me, Ashwin Berry, and the Africa Good Morning team, Sudaja Ranaka.